Jim Jordan's office denied a report on the undercurrent that the congressman said Donald Trump would soon announce a 2024 run for president, until a video surfaced showing Jordan saying just that. Advisor Jason Miller says there's a 99 to 100% chance Trump soon announces he's running.
He would likely, of course, try to stay relevant. He would tease a run as long as he could, but at the end of the day, he wouldn't pull the trigger.
Joining us now, Mike Emanuel, Fox's chief Washington correspondent. Mike, as we just saw, there's a lot of media skepticism about some imminent announcement, but it's producing a lot of coverage. Politico did a big piece, as always, hiring 2 operatives in Iowa. So from Trump world's perspective, it's kind of working.
Absolutely. It's showing once again that President Trump knows how to get the media's attention and to generate lots of coverage. Look, I think the big picture thing for his aides, his supporters, is basically keeping Team Trump together. You don't want Republican supporters potentially looking at DeSantis 2024, Kristi Noem 2024, Tim Scott 2024. You want to keep them on Team Trump. And so by saying that an announcement's coming very soon, you keep people on the hook, keep them engaged, keep them interested.
You put away money
because obviously he got wall-to-wall, nonstop coverage when he was the sitting president of the United States. Former presidents of the United States don't get the same amount of coverage, and so he wants to keep his base engaged. So if and when he decides to run, they're with him. And if he decides he doesn't want to run, then he can play kingmaker on the Republican side.
Well, even yesterday, 9/11 ceremonies, he told a group of New York police officers that he knows what he wants to do, but he can't say because of election laws. But you'll be very happy, he said. And he told OAN, I believe they're going to decertify the 2020 election. I see zero chance of that happening. But will there be media resentment if, despite all of these hints and everything, it turns out to be a head fake and he doesn't announce anytime soon? Or is the press loving this because they miss Trump, they miss the ratings, and they miss the clicks?
Yeah, he's great for business. No doubt about it. I mean, look at our competitors. They were thriving under President Trump, and now with President Biden, they are down in the dumps. And so they miss that constant back and forth between the media and President Trump, the jabbing, the fighting, and the constant material that he provides. And so there may be some resentment, but I think our colleagues in the press corps will get over it in time if indeed it turns out to be a media stunt.
Right. Well, I mean, skepticism is fine. After many years on television before he became president, dealing with the New York tabloids, doing The Apprentice, the guy knows how to make television news.
Sure.
Oddly, in my view, when Virginia officials took down that statue of Robert E. Lee this week, Trump put out a statement saying that the Confederate general is considered the greatest strategist of them all, that he would have won the Civil War except for Gettysburg. That's a big if. He would have won the war in Afghanistan if he were alive today. Lots of media criticism, ridicule. What do you think former president's going for there?
I think it was attention. Hey, it's a big thing in the news. It may fire up some of his supporters. And so by throwing that out there, he knows it's too hard to resist for the media. And so he knew that he was going to get lots of buzz about it, and that the diehards in his camp are not going to care one bit about it. They love him, and a lot of other folks will be talking about him. And so he's made a career on that basically over the years, Howie. And so I think that's another case of it, that this Richmond taking down the Robert E. Lee statue, some folks say it was a mistake because you can't whitewash the history of the Civil War. Other folks say it was a great thing. And so he stepped into this debate and got lots of attention for it, which he is famous for doing.
You are right that former presidents usually get very little attention unless they give a big speech or have a book out, but Donald Trump is clearly in a different category. Mike Emanuel, great to see you this Sunday.
Howie.
Welcome to the Monday stream. I hope everyone's having an awesome Monday morning. I see Mono's having a normal one today. How's it going, Dakapolion? How's it going, Silver Knight Dragon? I tried reading that twice and I couldn't understand. But hey. How's everybody doing? Let me breathe. Alright. Listen, university can make you the university can make you feel like that, alright? It's valid. It's valid. It's valid. So, according to some weird, antiquated procedure, we seem to have time warped an hour, and I am still, as Silver Knight Dragon just posted, recovering from said time warp. I wish we didn't have to do this. I'm trying to figure out the point. Hey, Skidadeer, how's it going? The Meridian Time personal met in Washington to change the Earth time first. Words were said that one day could be used to Earth, not to change the 1 day marshmallows, so they applied 1 day and ignored the 3 days. The marshmallow time was wrong. Yeah, this makes sense. Yeah, this makes sense. This makes 100% sense. Anyways, folks, I hope y'all are recovering from the time warp. Those that have to do the time warp, I don't know. Is that like, is that our thing for everybody, or is that time warp thing for everybody, or just oh, you already did yours? Okay, so I don't know. It just makes no sense to me, because like how does that justify that perpetual intentional jet lag to confuse and program the masses? We got it here, but I think we do ours earlier. Gotcha. But then what is the point? It seems to be arbitrary, doesn't it not? If that's the case, if people are just randomly choosing, then it seems to be arbitrary. Hey Dustin, how's it going? Jennifer Lee Ryan, sorry I have blonde hair and white skin. Great job. A great fortune, and I'm not going to jail. Is actually going to jail for the January 6th insurrection. True, I saw that. That was pretty funny. Yeah, the time warp just hit Washington State. Ah. Because it gets here darker, faster in winter or something. Yeah, is the excuse. Yeah, like, it doesn't make sense. I really don't know. Like, I'm completely at a loss. I have no idea. Hey, Thundera. I don't even notice every year. Oh, I do. I do. I mean, like, the phone does it by itself. The phone kind of automatically programs your time warp. But, I notice it. More specifically, my cat notices it. Because she does not have to do a time warp. So she will be absolutely meowing for food an hour earlier. Winter's the regular time though, summer is the daylight savings times, at least by name. Ah, that's right. Hey Samakara, how's it going? Yeah, my phone just does it and I don't even notice. Yeah, exactly. My phone does it too, my computer. But no, my body feels it. My autism notices it and hates it. Yeah, especially like, well, especially when your body feels it, yeah. Especially when your body feels it. Like I said, my, I didn't notice at the beginning until, like, it really started, to hit. I was like, wait a minute. Hold on. What's going on here? And also, my cat notices it. My cat does not. My cat doesn't do daylight savings. 8 a.m. is breakfast time. 8 p.m. is dinner time, and she doesn't have a daylight saving time. Washington State wants to switch to permanent daylight savings since 2019, but requires federal congressional approval along with 19 other states. Wait. What? This makes no sense whatsoever. Just keep it, like, uniform. I don't get why we have to do... I mean, like, it'd be one thing if there was, like, a point to it at nowadays. It's even worse when we, in the spring when we lose an hour. Yeah. Like, I would understand that at some point, maybe it made sense, kind of. But for the majority of people, it does not. Like, unironically, it does not make any more sense at this time. So, yeah. I'm just trying to survive with my coffee, and I should be okay. It's also a cool it has been a cool couple of days down here. So thankful that it's not hot. I've just been thankful that it's not hot. It has to do with power consumption for lights and heat, something, at least I think that's what the Bush said when he changed it. Yeah, I don't know. It doesn't make any sense though. We should just break the cycle and not do the time change. Yes, I 100% agree. What is like the real what is the real point of that, to be honest? What does that mean, Silver Knight Dragon? When you do exclamation link, what does that do in other chats? Because I know that must be a custom command. What does that do? Maybe I can add it to the list. It's not hot yet. Got some years of global warming to come. Oh yeah, no, we got. Oh, speaking of which, we got a few of those articles to go through. How's it going, James Napper? I'm just trying to stay awake. Oh, command to provide instructions to post links. Oh, okay. I think I might need to add that because it doesn't. We don't have like links activated. I thought daylight savings times was because of the sun or something. I honestly think it had. I think Mono is correct. I think that it has to do something with like the winter. It's called daylight savings time because at that time the winter has less day. I don't know. The whole point is it's useless at this time. Ah, that's a great idea, Silver Knight. I need to do that. Alright folks, I have a Canadian article describing health effects of DST. Oh, okay. Why don't you send it to me via Whispers? It's because we're unsuitable for... The days were unsuitable for farming. I think it was the Benjamin Franklin who proposed it. Oh god. Daylight saving starts in the spring and ends in the fall though. Ah. Okay, that possibly makes sense. Send it to me in DMs or Whispers. But like nowadays, it just doesn't seem. Nowadays, it just doesn't seem like it's necessary. It was an antiquated system that was supposed to make people more productive. Yeah, by artificially jet lagging them. I don't get it. All right, folks. Let's start running through the gauntlet. We'll go over this. We'll go over that article that Silver Knight posted as a. Hey Memo, how's it going? Let's get ready to rage face. Maybe. There's a lot of things to be Giga triggered about, Memo. That's true. Wasn't it supposed to save energy too by having us awake while there's daylight? Yeah, I don't know. Seems kind of silly. In the cycle where you stay an hour longer in bed, it's the best system. In the cycle where you lose an hour in bed, it's the worst system. True. Let's just keep the one where we stay an hour in bed and then just leave it as is and stop changing it. Nice meme. How daylight saving times can impact our health. And did you wake up this morning feeling a bit confused, disoriented about what time it was? You're not alone. Not disoriented, just Giga triggered. Clocks were set back an hour 2 a.m. in most time zones across Canada as the switch from DST, also known as summertime or daylight time, to standard time kicked in on Sunday. The biannual flip clocks are set an hour forward in March has become a controversial topic. Wait, controversial? With several provinces wanting to do away with the century-old practice. True. The idea behind DST is to conserve energy and make better use of daylight during spring and summer when the days are longer. Because the change leads to a mismatch between local clock and our body's internal clock, it can have measurable impacts on our health, including sleep loss and heart problems. We shouldn't be putting ourselves through this twice a year. When there's a change in either direction, it does show how your body struggles with the irregularity. Exactly. Just leave it alone. From a health perspective, there's growing consensus that staying on permanent standard time year-round is the best option, as this allows our natural body clock to be closer to the social clock. Wendy Hall, a registered nurse and professor emeritus at the University of British Columbia, said the switch is very hard on people's biological rhythms. True. We should be on one system for the whole year, not switching back and forth. True. What DST does to the human body. Carney described daylight saving times as a real-world experiment to simulate jet lag. It's the same feeling we get after a long flight that results in a change in time zone. Your body is actually expecting one time and it gets a different time. Yeah, artificial jet lag. While the body adjusts to new time, we end up feeling symptoms of jet lag, which may include mental and physical fatigue. People might have difficulty sleeping or waking up, and if you aren't sleeping well, your metabolism takes a hit along with your eating routine. He called it social jet lag, and it's also associated with increased risk of obesity, problems with diabetes, cardiovascular disease, and depression, she said. Yeah, that makes sense. So more daylight for more work? Yeah, back then. As someone who works really weird shifts, it doesn't actually bother me. I actually like it for summertime because I like being out later while it's still sunny. Yeah, I mean, if you have like weird shifts, especially like those folks who are like in the graveyard shifts and stuff like that, this may not affect you as much. Your job is already messing with you as it is. The shift in spring, when we moved our clocks ahead by an hour, means less exposure to light in the morning and greater exposure to evening light. This can cause people to go to bed later, and in the presence of continuing social or occupational demands, results in sleep loss and some sleep debt. Patricia Lakin Thomas, an expert on chronobiology and York University professor said we ideally want to have the sunrise close to the time when we normally get up so we can get considerable light to reset our body clocks. Because our internal clock runs a bit slow, we need the dawn light as a warning signal to reset our clock every day so that we can be in step with the day and night cycle. There's a growing body of research that points to the negative impact of daylight time that can potentially have on our health. A 2019 report published in the Journal of Clinical and analyzed 7 studies that included more than 100,000 participants. It found that there is an increased risk of heart attack in the weeks. Risk of heart attack in the weeks following the spring and fall DST transitions. A 2016 nationwide study in Finland published in the Sleep Medicine Journal showed that the stroke-related hospitalizations increased during the first 2 years of the switch. Meanwhile, another 2020 analysis of US and Swedish data published in the PLOS Computational Biology Journal suggested that there was greater risk of immune-related diseases, digestive system disorders, infections, and injuries associated with the spring shift. Yeah, I mean, like, of course, if you're not 100%, there's like a exponential increase when it comes to safety, especially if you are handling heavy machinery, driving, things like that. Oh yeah, here we go. A number of studies point to a rise in car accidents on the first workday after daylight time. Yeah, because if you mess with people and like kind of shock them, I guess, then yeah, of course, you're gonna see an increase in car accidents because, well, you can't just mess with people like that and then get them behind the wheel of a, 1,000-pound machine, 1,000 pounds machine. A 2011 analysis of police statistics by Global News showed that on average, 9 more pedestrians were hurt or killed in Toronto the week after the fall time change, more than in weeks before or following, which again is probably because when you mess with people's like bodies like that, and then you get them behind the wheel, that's a possibility. That increases the possibility exponentially, I would say. Changing people's sleep behavior is a form of torture. Something like that. I can acknowledge I'm a bit of an outlier though, because if I could, I'd rather not sleep at all. I don't really enjoy it. I usually sleep all 8 hours a day. Yeah, no, I need my sleep. I can't do it. In the United States, the spring transition to DST increased the risk of fatal traffic accidents by 6%, according to a 2020 study published in the journal Current Biology. When hours switch in the spring can lead to a lot of short-term health effects, things like increases in car accidents and workplace injuries. Yeah, this makes perfect sense. We have even some evidence that judges are out harsher sentences in the spring for a few days right after the time change, probably because they're a bit sleep deprived and a bit cranky because of the jet lag. Oh man, that's kind of messed up because, like, wait. I get it, but like, that has real effects on other people. Okay, you're playing with people's freedom and lives. That's not cool. While the short-term acute effects may only last a few days after the switch, the change can significantly throw off people who already have underlying health problems. If you have something like insomnia, for example, further disruption that you experience 2 times a year can take on a life of its own, then cause other problems. Jesus. They're also concerned about long-term implications of daylight saving times, experts say, but more research is needed. Hall said that staying out of sync with our biological clock can end up causing chronic effects that last longer than the first few weeks after the switch. Yeah, I mean, again, the TLDR of this entire thing is like, it just keeps pointing to the idea that there's no real good legitimate reason to continue to have like the DST. Well, someone crashing into you with their car also has real effects for you. Exactly. Yeah, exactly. That's why they mentioned the pedestrians. I like the extra hour of sleep, so I want to go do the 1 hour back every night and 24 hour and then every 24 days we just skip a day off the calendar. Oh man. Or hear me out. Hear me out. We give people more time off. Or we give people more time off. A 20-hour work week. Yeah, apparently my approach isn't actually healthy. They did the research. I mean, certainly, I don't know what the correct hours of the correct amount of hours that should be in the work week, but definitely 40 is not nowhere near as necessary nowadays. DST should be a national holiday for catching up on sleep. Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, either do away with it completely, or you're gonna have to give people like a day or two off. Or just not do it. or just not do it at all. Why do I feel like giving days off just means they'll stay up later for partying? Well, no, not necessarily, because you'd be too tired. Hey, Sir Yogi, how's it going? I mean, like, the idea, and, I mean, I guess, hey, listen, if that's what you want to do with your time off, then that's on you. If they want to party, let them party. Yeah, exactly, exactly. Anyways, do away with DST. This is nonsense. This is nonsense, and there's significant studies to back the reasons why we shouldn't have this. So, yeah, let's get rid of it. After the revolution, I say we abolish time change. Wait, we don't need a... Wait, no, we don't need a revolution to do that. Alright, folks. It's time to run the gauntlet of very good news. Right? Very good. Totally not, molding news. Quote, Trump will probably announce 2024 plans after midterm. A lot of people will be very happy. A lot of great people who are... Okay, hold on. Let's just read this nonsense. Okay. Former President Trump in an exclusive interview for Fox News. I mean, like, okay, where's he gonna go? OAN said he will probably wait until the 2022 midterms to formally announce whether he will run for president. I mean, like, this continues to make me think that this guy's gonna run. This continues to make me think that this guy is gonna run simply because if you guys have been here long enough, I have said that Donald Trump, depending on how the midterms are going to go, is probably going to run. If the midterms go really well for the Republican Party, which most likely it will, if the midterms go really well for the Republican Party, which, let's be honest, the Democratic Party is seemingly, as of right now, unless something drastic changes within the next couple of weeks, unless something happens drastically within the next couple of weeks, the Democratic Party has shown its outright incompetency to deliver on some of the most basic elements of their platform. And people are starting to get quite frustrated. People are starting to turn their back on the Democratic Party. People are frustrated with the Democratic Party. And, I mean, rightfully so. Like, this isn't an excuse. But my point is, because of the Democratic Party's inability to get it together, to deliver on some of the basic promises, on some of the basic campaign platforms that delivered them, specifically the Senate, they're just going to hand them They're getting ready to hand the GOP a massive victory in 2022. And if that happens, I believe Trump is going to get out there and he's going to say, "I'm going to run," and then he'll win. Depending on who they run, depending on who the Democratic Party runs, Trump will have, I would say, not smooth sailing, but he will have a good advantage. That's right, Dustin. Noyan is getting sued by Smartmatic. Trump will run because he's an attention glutton. Yeah, but he's also like a kind of guy that doesn't accept losing. So I don't know. I think if he runs, it's because he thinks if he runs, it's gonna be because he thinks he can win. If he ever got back in, would he only be able to do one term? Yep. Hey, Careless Whimper, how's it going? Yeah, unless he gets himself declared president for life. Yeah. I think he'll do rallies, have exploratory packs like Palin did, and remain a figurehead without actually running. Wow, that's an interesting prediction. But I don't know. I think that he will run. I think he changed his mind. He already is. Yeah. I am the ultimate president. Trump could absolutely win, which seems wild to say, but it's clear that his base is still there, and the rest of the R's will still vote for them religiously without switching. Yeah, that's the thing. No, it's not something wild to say, James. It's not. It's not a wild thing to say. It's a very real possibility, which is why I'm covering it. That's the only reason why I'm covering it. That's the only reason I'm covering it. Do I call my customer out for being ageist and he said he won't vote for anyone over 65? He himself. Wait. Wait, how do you square that circle? He'll be elected president and spend those 4 years whining about election fraud. Yeah. The only thing stopping Trump from winning again would be how well the Democrats can motivate and demotivate the turnout, which, going by current numbers, doesn't seem like the ultra-safe bet right now. Yeah, exactly, James Snapper. This is not, I agree, and I'm 100% in line with your thinking there, because, well, as I've said before, you need to give people something to vote for. And unfortunately, the Democratic Party has shown itself to be incapable of delivering for their base, and incapable of solving or just getting really anything on the board that's significant, right? Just anything, really. We'll get to the bipartisan infrastructure bill right now, but that, God, there's so much. There's so much to be like triggered about this, because like they are handing a massive win to the GOP coming 2022, and because of that, it's going to cascade into 2024. What can the Dems do? Hey, Slycan, what can the Dems do at this point? Well, they have a couple of weeks. What they theoretically could do is say, alright, look, we effed up, okay? We effed up. Here's what we need to do. We need to deliver on giving the expansion to social safety nets, particularly with the child tax credits, the expansion to VPK, the 2 years tuition-free college, the climate provisions, which are very important and popular within the Democratic voter base, and just popular in general. The Medicare expansion, taxing the wealthy. Yeah, I mean, if they said, listen, Joe Manchin, listen, Kirsten Sinema, you need to play ball. Okay? You need to play ball because of X, Y, whatever it is that they need to do to turn that around, then that's what they would, that's what would start to shift things in their favor. Because if they get it together and they say, look, we're going to do a massive package for the American people, okay? They're going to do a massive package for the American people and nonstop and nonstop talking about what ways it benefits people and how, and continue to push that over and over and over and over and over again. Look, the $300 child tax credit, which is like what, an extra $3,000 something a year. That's massive. That's massive to working families, and continue to push that over and over and over again. That might turn it around, but you know, the realities of having a green infrastructure, the realities of the economic benefits of moving to a green infrastructure, the amount of jobs this is going to bring, not to mention the health benefits of having us decouple from fossil fuels, so on and so forth. I mean, like, they need to be hammering this down every day. That would require them to get their collective ish together. The Manchin Build Carbon Back Better bill. Congrats, President Manchin. That's right. Congratulations, President Joe Manchin. The Biden numbers are very bad. That's true. Although they are somewhat unfair. And some of those elections last week should be a concern. Probably, yes, I agree. Probably even more concerning, though, it isn't that some Democrat campaigns managers still seem completely misunderstand electorates. True. I like how Galinski's idea of the progressives going to the White House and giving Biden an ultimatum. We'll vote for the bill if you assign DOs for nonviolent drug offenders. Yeah, but like, we don't have enough folks like that. As much as I totally understand the sentiment, part of me is uncomfortable with the idea of strong-arming people like Manchin and Sinema only because it's technically only because it technically isn't very democratic and drifts very close to convenient authoritarianism, basically abandon democracy when it suits you, and has been shown in data to be a trait of American voters. Yeah, but like, the Senate by itself is already broken. The Senate by itself is undemocratic. And the fact that, like, then you have to outweigh, like, then you have to ask yourself the question, is one or two people commanding the stage right now democratic? Is one or two people essentially saying to very popular programs to the American people, like the child tax credits and things like that, then you have to weigh these two things, right? I would argue that someone like President Joe Manchin and Madam President Kyrsten Sinema, holding up very popular legislation, is authoritarian. They're basically saying, I'm the one calling the shots right now. Two people are calling the shots. Why can't they sanction the people consistently not playing ball, the ones holding up bills for the sake of holding up bills? I don't know if I would go that far either, Dacapolion, because, like, I don't know if I want to do that either. Because, like, it seems to me like Mitch McConnell, people like Mitch McConnell, when Mitch McConnell is the majority leader, oh boy, does everybody fall in line. Because he says things like, hey, listen, if you don't play ball, then we'll primary you. If you don't play ball, we'll take away your funding. That's simple. Just that simple. Besides, you don't have to strong-arm them, like, literally. You can convince them by saying things like, hey, Joe Manchin, Kyrsten Sinema, we're about to give the Republican Party massive wins right now. Okay? We need to deliver. Okay? We need to deliver, because if not, we're about to get kicked off in a much in a very bigly way, I should say. One of the big problems I think with the American progressives right now is that they're kind of misunderstanding how things work. As much as I totally admire people like the Sunrise activists, I think there's a naivety in following Manchin around or cinema or whatever when we know well that politicians do not listen to ordinary people, no matter how loud. Well, I think I tend to agree with the statement that people, that politicians, particularly those folks like Manchin and Sinema, do really not listen to ordinary people, no matter how loud. I agree with that. What they probably should be doing is making life uncomfortable for Manchin's donors, who he and the rest of the Dems are proven to listen to. I think it's an oversight of how they view power and politics. It's a lesson the civil rights activists learned in the 50s and 60s. They didn't just protest, they boycotted. They made life uncomfortable for those who do hold power. Ah. Well, there's a thought. There's a thought. There is a thought. I mean, like, I was thinking the opposite. I was thinking, like, because people like Manchin and Sinema are not really likely to change their mind, it seems to me like it's effed, it's GG. But there are other representatives that you can put pressure on and make us think about. But I think there's something to be made about that. There's something to be made about that, James. I think that there is some value in that strategy, I think. I don't think it's about them directly changing Manchin's mind, but how they get some but that's how they get some coverage in the media. That's right. But, like, here's the thing. I don't think that you're going to get someone like Manchin to change their mind, but you need to put pressure where you can. You're saying truth, however, you're not including the graft and corruption and being a political figure, perverting everything. Yeah, well, that's the thing. You have to go... You can't really, like, go to Manchin at this point in time because, like, he literally just told everyone to go F themselves. I don't see Manchin being, like, an avenue for change. So we got to turn elsewhere. We've got to turn elsewhere. I don't see President Joe Manchin as an avenue for change, so therefore I think that we need to focus our efforts elsewhere. Building grassroots movements would be a way. I think what James Napper is pointing out is probably correct, to be honest. I'm certainly thinking about it, and we'll see. I think a lot of people will be very happy, frankly, with the decision, and probably will announce that after the midterms. And the former president said timeline was probably appropriate. It doesn't mean I will. Trump said of the whether he'll stick to that timeline is probably appropriate, but a lot of people are waiting for that decision to be made. The former president said a lot of great people who are thinking about running are waiting for that decision because they're not going to run if I run. Looking at you, DeSantis. We have a lot that are very well named, said when the GOP White House hopefuls, but a lot of them said that if I run, they'll never run. Yeah. Yeah, that's nice, primarily because it shows a great deal of loyalty and respect. Please tell me again how the Republican Party isn't the party of Trump. Please tell me again how Donald Trump doesn't control the Republican Party. Please tell me. As for a potential running mate, Trump said that there's a lot of great people in the Republican Party. When asked if he would consider Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, he said he's a good man, but we have a lot of great people. He's been good. I don't know. He was just trashing him the other day. Addressing whether he would consider former ambassador for the UN, Nikki Haley, the former president said she does. That she every once in a while goes off the rails and she comes back, which is nice. What? Okay. Anyways, I don't need to go much further, except here. In September, Trump was also asked about his 2024 plans, and he said, quote, I don't think we're going to have a choice. Trump told Fox News in a September exclusive, it's getting to the point where we really have no choice. And I bet he's going to go with that angle, that he alone is the savior of this country, which is an existential crisis, so on and so forth, the usual talking points. Yeah, so the reason why I brought this up is because it's coming, folks. And the Democratic Party needs to get its collective-ish together because this isn't going to be the result. There isn't much you can do to make Coke or whatever uncomfortable. Well, I would say there are things you can do. It's definitely harder for sure, but the economic world and political world are different now to what they were in the 60s, but I think people need to distance themselves from assuming that politicians hold power, when in reality they're more often just vehicle for their loudest voices. I think I mentioned it before, but the book Levers of Power is one of the rare ones that taps into this really well. Yeah, like I see what you're saying, James Napper, and I believe that you have a very valid point there. Because at the end of the day, the politicians, yes, they make decisions, but, you know, they are also just vehicles. I think that you have a point. In a weird dystopic turn of events, Microsoft will now snitch on you at work like never before. Totally not for. You think that there are limits to what your employer can see and do online? Some new Microsoft updates may make you think a little bit more about that. I feel like there are many American workers who have put the whistle in their mouths like former Facebook employee Frances Haugen, but have been too afraid to blow it. Literally, I feel equally sure that if I tell you what's coming, you'll be more reluctant to even put the whistle in your mouth. It may be that you think your employer is doing evil, unspeakable, or merely unpleasant or illegal things, but it may equally be that you're less of a whistleblower, more tending towards unpleasant, untrustworthy, or even illegal yourself. With blessed coincidence, Microsoft is preparing a couple of little updates that may curb employee rule-breaking enthusiasm. Okay. Literally. Yes, this news again comes courtesy of Microsoft's Roadmap service, where Redmond prepares you for the joys to come. This time there are a couple of joys, and the first is headlined Microsoft 365 Compliance Center. Insider risk management, increased visibility on browsers. Nice. I wish, well, maybe sourcing support will cover this. He probably will be able to give us a better insight. It all sounded wonderful until you saw those last 4 words, didn't it? For this is the roadmap for administrators, and when you give a kindly administrator increased visibility on browsers, you can feel sure that this means an elevated level of surveillance. Elevated level of surveillance of what employees are typing into those browsers. In this case, Microsoft is targeting, quote, risky activity, which presumably has some sort of definition. It offers a link to Compliance Center, which is the very first sentence has whistleblower built in. Web browsers are often used by users to access both sensitive and non-sensitive files within an organization. And what is the Compliance Center monitoring? Why, files copied to personal cloud storage, files printed to local and network devices, files transferred or copied to a network share, files copied to USB devices. You always assumed that this was the case, perhaps, but now there will be mysteriously increased visibility. How might this visibility be increased? I hear you shudder. Well, there's another little roadmap update that just may offer a clue. This one proclaims Microsoft 365 Compliance Center Insider Risk Management new ML detectors. No, not Marxist-Leninist detectors. No. Even better. Machine learning, folks. They're using AI. Yes, your company will soon have extra special robots to crawl along after you and observe your every risky action. It's not enough to have increased visibility on browsers. You must also have machine learning constantly alert for someone revealing your lunch schedule. Hey, this is great. This is why capitalism is all to blame for this corrupted use of political manipulation. Well, it definitely encourages. It definitely exacerbates the issue, and it definitely encourages this. In fact, it almost requires it. Well, I mean, yeah, the political science answer would be that more than that, politics will always be messy, even without capitalism. Ending capitalism doesn't undo social groups, but gross inequality will worsen those messes and increase divisions dramatically. Right. I agree. You know, of course, capitalism does encourage this behavior and does, in fact, sometimes even require it. I mean, how else do you become a billionaire, right? Glad I work at a company who already has anti-corruption environment and enforces it with internal and external penalties. What? Microsoft offers a link to its insider risk management page. Just enjoy some delicious phrasing such as customers acknowledge insights related to the individual user's behavior, character, or performance materially related to employment can be calculated by the administrator and made available to others in the organization. Yes, even your character is being examined here. Oh man, this just gets better. Literally. In one sense, this is all understandable. The easier it gets for employees to behave in marginally nefarious ways, the more there has to be security to prevent them from doing so. Oh man, these are thought crimes. These are literally thought crimes. Nice. The more cyber weaknesses exist, the more someone might want to exploit them. Ultimately, of course, it's another small representation of the complete lack of trust among humans, and especially between management and employees. Technology, because of its immediacy and ubiquity, has exacerbated that. The more companies descend spy software on their employees, especially employees working from home, the less trust that can exist between those in work and those who manage. True. True. Glad I work at a company who has already anti-corruption environment and enforces with internal and external penalties. The new Microsoft won't affect me much. Nice. That's very interesting. The thing is, like, this could potentially, depending on your company, as you mentioned, Silver Knight Dragon, this could potentially affect a lot of people, including, yes, even myself, as I work from home. I just assume that because this is not my laptop over here, I assume that literally everything I do is being tracked. I just automatically assume that everything that I do is being tracked. But like the fact is, like, it's kind of weird how dystopic that can become, right? The more companies want to follow every single moment of their employees' working lives and even non-working lives, which is really the bizarre part, right? What is the business of an employer to track an employee's personal life, private life? It feels less like we're all in this together. The more companies want to follow every single movement of their employees' working lives and even non-working lives, the less it feels like we're all in this together. There's a certain symbolism, of course, in Microsoft 365 following you around 365 days a year. I'm not sure it's entirely an uplifting symbolism. True. My work terminal gets audited live every month. I know my computer is tracked live. Oh yeah, I think so. I'm convinced that mine is probably this one here. Anyways, this is why I am very adamant about keeping the work computer over here and the streaming computer over here. I remember reading something really funny in a book last year using survey data described about how millionaires in America are becoming more frustrated in their lack of access to politicians. Imagine that's being your frustration. Because over time, being a millionaire was less than big a deal. Even the elites were becoming isolated in the era of 0.1%. Wow. What do you mean? I have to make sure my employees isn't doing things that could damage his productivity. True. My question is, how much mental damage generationally does the not unjustified belief that everything we do is tracked causing? That's a very good. Actually, you know what? You just brought up an amazing, a very, very, very good point. God knows, Mono. That's actually a very, very good point. I don't know how you measure that, or I don't know how you would. I guess somebody with social studies can probably tell us. But that is a very, very, very good question. How much mental damage generationally does the not unjustified belief that everything we do is tracked, and how is that going to impact society? That is a huge question, especially in the era that we are moving into, where, especially with the era that we're moving into, where more and more people are working from home, which generally speaking isn't bad, but at the same time that comes with employers wanting to be more Orwellian, I guess would be the the word I could use. How much is that affecting people's mental health? Because like, if you're just taught, or you just have this notion, which is, again, as you said, not really unjustified notion, that everything that you do is being tracked by your employer, everything that you do, you're being watched constantly. That, little, camera on your laptop, it could be on at any point. You don't have control over that. It's not your computer. So, yeah, I could see, we're already seeing it with conspiracy, Catamaris exploding. Yeah. The seed that starts a lot of this stuff is just with anything that you're told. Yeah, no, you're right. As an IT worker, I know we audit workstations for sensitive data, and we can track the locations of devices. We can log into them remotely, and we can screen capture remotely. That's right. That is true. That is like the basic, that is kind of like the front end. That is kind of like the front end behind the massive possibilities of surveillance. Hyper-religious people, but my IT group is also at a university, so we respect privacy. Oh, nice. Yeah, no, not like I assume literally every keystroke. I assume that every keystroke that I have, that I do on this computer, is being logged or saved or whatever. Hyper-religious people already think that God monitors every second of their lives, and we can see how that affects them. Yeah, that's a good point. That is a good point. Anyways, literally, and I think that that's bizarre and Orwellian. Just people, things that we need to consider and should be aware of, especially as as more people, I would say, start working from home. It is something that you have to kind of be aware of. Representative Madison Cawthorn issues a sinister warning to anyone who opposes him. This guy has been recently doing more and more cringe stuff. Representative Madison Cawthorn raised eyebrows with a wild man about the left and warned about what will happen when anyone disagrees with the right's agenda during a frothy interview with the far-right network OAN this week. Cawthorn fear-mongered about people in Washington who are, quote, trying to insert their woke politics in our culture and trying to Destroy Western civilization. Nice. Classics. The classics. Microsoft controls, Linux doesn't. Yes, that's true. If I had the ability to successfully stream off a Linux platform, but then again, like Linux has its own pros and cons. Huh, what an odd statement to make. Really? I wonder who he's signaling to. Yeah. Oh man, gee, somebody get the Scooby-Doo gang to solve this mystery, Mono. Somebody get the Scooby-Doo gang to solve this mystery. Trying to take away all our morality from everyone, trying to make everyone genderless, sexless, and absolutely godless. Okay. I realize that the American people are sick and tired of it. We want our country back. Whoa. And we want our culture back. Who's we? Who's we? And if you want to stay in that, I say we. And if you want to stand in the way, in the way that. Okay, and I'm just going to assume here. And if you want to stand in the way of that, we will run you over, which is very tacit. This is not the first time, of course, but he is clearly signaling violence. Jinkies, yeah, exactly. How can the left be both sexist but also degenerate and polycules? Yeah, it doesn't have to make sense, Mono. It doesn't have to make sense. Sounds like they're getting a lot of sex to me. We equal cisgender white males, something like that. In what is wheelchair? No, in a car, or other forms of violence. I don't know. Western culture is so important to some. I doubt there's anything to read into. Yeah, nothing to see here, folks. Nothing to see here. In case, and again, let's just not take a Huffington Post article about it. Let's just hear it from the guy. Let's just hear it from the guy himself. Generally speaking, I don't use things like HuffPost or anything like that. I try to do I know it's funny, but I try to do more more mainstream.
Trying to make everyone gender.
But
I'm telling you, when I see the people that are,
you don't have to take it from any news outlet. You don't have to take it from any news outlet. Let's hear the guy himself. Madison accidentally echoing the Unite the Right fumble. Nah, he's not accidentally doing anything. He's done this multiple times. I think between him and Josh Hawley are the closest you can start getting without just being outright. You should be careful, they already did that, and it hemorrhaged support for the mainstream alt-righters. They flocked to the extreme fringes and became the types who consider guys like Madison to be the tools of, quote, puppeteers. Yeah, which we all know what that means, but however, no, he doesn't care. He's literally signal boosting it to them. Because it seems to me that's his base? I don't know. I love how an AN newscast looks like the newscast from a dystopian movie, because it is. And of course, Patriot Takes is the one who made this tweet post, So we know what we're getting ourselves into. Degenerate means non-person. Yes, in their language, that's what it means.
I'm telling you, when I see the people that are in Washington, D.C., who are trying to insert their woke politics into our culture, trying to destroy Western civilization, trying to take all of our morality away from everyone, trying to make everyone genderless, sexless, and just absolutely godless, I realize that the American people are sick and tired of it. We want our country back. We want our culture back. And if you want to stand in the way of that, we will run you over. I'm telling you, when I see the people that are in Washington, D.C., who are trying...
Again, don't take any, if you're able to support me in monitoring the right wing, please consider giving it. Oh no, this actually, interesting. Interesting.
InfoWars is a beacon of freedom. That's why InfoWars can always be counted on for the truth. You can always go to InfoWars.com and find out what is really going on.
Anyways, that's enough of that. Thank you, Roger Stone, for the beacon of truth. Thank you, Roger Stone. He has a different conception of Western civilization that people will end up shifting to the fringe when this strategy fails again. Yep. He has a different... Yeah, exactly. I'm sick of tired of being what I'm told. I'm sick and tired of being told what I'm sick and tired of. True. Alex Jones, who stated in court that he's not actual news. True. I don't see anything wrong with being genderless or godless. Yeah, I mean, you do you. That's the whole point. That's the whole point. People, one of my biggest pet peeves with politicians is the American people are. True, especially when they have absolutely no idea what the American people actually want or actually are interested in. That's very true. That is very true. We are individuals, but there are trends. I would say, like, maybe what he's trying to convey is that there are trends, but, like, that doesn't match up with the reality of the most, you know, what's popular within the American people. Anyways, yeah, here's Madison Cawthorn. Again, thinly veiled dog whistles that are not so dog whistly as much as they are bullhorns with the not so thinly veiled threat of violence. And of course, he's not actually saying to go do stuff, but the implication there could possibly lead to people saying, oh yeah, he's right. They're gonna destroy Western civilization. They're trying to take away my morality. I gotta do something about it. Elected member of Congress, by the way. An elected member of Congress, by the way. Very scary, very weird times. Exactly. Only if you agree with me, then you're a patriot. If not, then you're a traitor and a threat to Western civilization, a threat to yeah. Morality and religion get to mix up. Yep. It's totally possible for us to be more collectivist without sacrificing individuality. Yeah, I think those are like misconceptions, the way people like think. Because the Lobetarians have this idea that the only thing that matters is people's individualistic rights to do X, Y, to do whatever, basically. However, I would say that my ideas elevate the individual more than theirs. And to think of things in such binaries as individualistic or collectivist are, I think, myopic and kind of box yourself into these things. You kind of box yourself, okay? For example, I would argue that making sure that people have food, housing, education, healthcare is the best thing you can do to elevate an individual and give them the tools that they need to be the best individual that they can. You give them the tools and then they have the choice. Is that not what you want? But then they'll turn around and have this like weird double speak in their head going on. A double think in their head going on. Between trying to rationalize the idea that it turns out that you need some type of government to do this, because who protects that? Because who protects that, and who elevates, and who provides the infrastructure for that to be even a thing? I too like to play some Minecraft. So yeah, like I would argue that I'm actually more, my ideas actually give more freedom to the individual than theirs, because theirs is a if their ideas come to fruition, it becomes a hellscape where nobody wins. If their ideas come into fruition, then this world becomes a hellscape where nobody wins. If people have food, housing, education, and healthcare, I think that is the best way to give people their individual freedoms to choose what they will and what paths they want to take in life, right? Not to be exploited. There are things in this. There are things that I'm sorry, but we can't just free market our way out of it. Sorry. There are things that require collectivist action. Sorry. I would argue that climate change is one where it requires a collectivist solution. That would be a example of a scenario where we do need collectivist action, because, well, that's irrelevant. All of this is irrelevant if we don't have a habitable planet. All of it is irrelevant. The individual becomes irrelevant. The individual becomes irrelevant if we don't have a habitable space. The same thing goes when we deal with public health and pandemics, right? For example, that would be another example where we would need a more collectivist solution, because, well, the individual won't matter if hundreds of thousands of people are dying a year, right? That's kind of a problem with the individual, right? That's kind of a problem. You know what's a really big issue to the individual? If you try to go to an emergency room and it's all filled up and you can't get treatment, that might be a bit of a problem. So if you care about the individual, turns out there needs to be some type of government. That is not to say that is the same thing as I was taught by an anarchist friend of the stream, Wizard's Bread Book. It is not the same to say that the state. These are two different things. But if we let them have paths, they'll rise up and turn us into gay frogs. True. Yeah, I don't know, you're still not going to make me work. I don't care if you collectivize the factory. Now, some people you're just not going to be able to get to work, right? What's the difference between Italian and hearty Italian at Subway? I have no idea. I wish I knew. I haven't seen the inside of a Subway or ordered Subway in so long that I don't even know their menu. I couldn't tell you even if I couldn't tell you if I wanted to. Anyways, I don't want to be French though. So anyways, the TLDR is if you're talking about raising the individual, elevating the individual above everything, well, I'm sorry, but there's going to have to be tools in place, and there's going to have to be baselines for society. Because it turns out that we work better together. Sorry. And some issues do require us getting together collectively and figuring it out, right? Almost all issues do. That's true, to a degree, Pat Rat. I think so. But I'm like very hyper focused, specifically when it comes to climate change, because like there's no way that specifically for like climate change or like, I don't know, like a pandemic or global health issues. These things are clear cut examples where we need to get a collective together and work on it. I'll work with you temporarily, but if I find you stealing from the flax fields below my tower, violating the NEP, I would force hit you with my next level fireball. True. We live in a society, okay? So yeah, turns out we gotta work together for things. Gloomy landscape for Democrats in midterms as Biden approval drops to 38%. A year before the 2022 midterm elections, Republicans hold a clear lead on the congressional ballot as President Biden's approval rating stinks. I mean, it does, but anyways, sinks to a new low of 38%. USA Today's Suffolk University poll taken on Wednesday through Friday found that Biden's support cratered among independent voters who delivered his margin of victory over President Trump 1 year ago. Biden and his party are poised for a rebound, advocates argue, after the House passed the $1.2 trillion hard infrastructure bill late Friday, sending the signature measure to Biden's desk for his signature. An encouraging economic report released Friday showed stronger than expected job growth. That said, the survey illuminates the size of the hole Democrats need to dig out of as they look towards the elections in 1 year on November 8th of 2022 that will determine control of Congress and shape the second 2 years of Biden's term. Well, if they want to get their collective ish together, then they may be able to turn this around. But otherwise, then yeah, it's just going to be 2 more years of doing nothing. At the moment, views of presidents have soured. Among findings, nearly half of those surveyed, 46%, say Biden has done a worse job than the president than they expected. Yeah, because we were promised that X, Y, and Z was going to happen. And it turns out when X, Y, and Z starts to not happen, people are going to get mad. Is that Trump's high? I don't know. Unless you want a Twilight Zone episode in real life, true. The cognitive dissonance. Our approval will go up after our biggest failure. True. Survey and polls don't mean votes. That's true. I don't dispute that. I support Biden and don't support all of Congress. Yeah, I mean, some people, that's the truth for some people. Like, again, it all depends on what this administration does within the time that it has, while the Democratic Party has the majority. If the Libertarian Party feels a good candidate that it might actually be interesting this time, they could unironically pick up support, maybe, but that will only benefit. That will be to the detriment of the GOP, which is fine by me. I don't understand approval ratings for vice presidents. Like, I don't have one. They did an amazing job standing silently at the funeral. That's right. Kind of weird. You're right, Dustin. That's a weird. I mean, hey, I think, but the vice president does have a role to play here. Especially if Kamala Harris is going to throw her hat in the ring in 2024. It turns out Trump did have a high of 49. I wouldn't be surprised, to be honest, especially at his beginning of his presidencies. I don't understand approval ratings. Oh, yeah. It'd be to the detriment of both at this point. You think so? Left-leaning people who don't define themselves as socialists or communists are also losing trust in the Dems. Well, that's true. That is true. But I would expect these people to just sit it out. I would expect these people to sit it out, not necessarily because, like, in particular, I have a feeling that the people who defect to the Libertarian Party are most likely, like, disillusioned GOP voters. But I guess you're just right? Because, like, even if they don't join the Libertarian Party, they don't vote, which means for all intents and purposes, it's the exact same thing. The straw might have broken. I think we're getting there. I think we're getting there, Mono. I think you're right. That being said, I don't like it. Nearly half of those surveyed, 46%, say Biden has done a worse job as president than they expected, including 16% of those who voted for him. Independents, 7-1, 44 to... What? Oh, independents by 7-1, 44 to 6% say he's done worse, not better than they expected. Nearly 2/3 of Americans, 64%, say they don't want Biden to run for a second term in 2024. That includes 28% of the Democrats. Opposition to Trump running another term stands at 58%, including 24% of Republicans. I don't know why... Okay. Vice President Kamala Harris' approval ratings is 28%, even worse than Biden's. The poll shows that 51% disapprove of the job she's doing. 1 in 5, which is 21%, are undecided. I think they're big mad because, remember, in this case, the Senate, the Vice President has the Senate, in this case, the Vice President does have a massive role to play in this particular scenario. So they might be, that's why she has an abysmal approval rating on top of that. I'm not saying we'll see a massive swing, just that I foresee some movement. The FDR president and his mighty infrastructure bill of lessening the taxes on the wealthy. Yeah, as an example, lots of minority communities seeing massive upticks in gun purchases, getting armed. The Dems are running on a clearly pro-gun control platform. VP does a lot of stuff in the Senate, and in diplomacy, there are other things, and the job is different enough. It almost makes sense to elect him independently for president. That used to be the thing, right, Pat Rat? That used to be the thing. It isn't single issue, obviously, but they don't trust Biden or Kamala to protect them. That's funny. I don't think Biden wants a second term either. Heat 420 with the tier 1 sub. 16 months. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. He didn't even do those things he said he would in the manifestos. Yep. That's funny. I don't think Biden wants a second term either. Yeah, I mean, he clearly was very adamant about saying he's a one-term president. I don't know if he's going to run again. My worrisome... Oh, good morning, by the way. Sorry about that. My instincts are telling me that he's not going to run. And my instincts are saying that he's not going to run. And it will most likely be Kamala Harris. But MAGA and the Congress doesn't help Biden usually. That may be true. But you're right. I don't suspect any support from the GOP. And I don't suspect any I don't expect any support from MAGA. However, their support is not necessary in this case. Yeah, I did nothing, achieved nothing, and annoyed the entire country doing it. Something like that. Howdy, howdy. Hello, fellow humans. Thank you so much for the support. I appreciate that. I really do. Thank you. Americans overwhelmingly support the infrastructure bill Biden is about to sign, but they're split on the more expensive and further-reaching Build Back Better Act debated in Congress. Only 1 in 4 say the bill's provision would help them and their families. If the election were today, those surveyed say that they would vote for the Republican congressional candidate over the Democratic one by 46-38, an advantage that would bode well for GOP hopes in getting a majority in the House and Senate. Yeah, they're about to, they're about to get swept. I see it. In a president's first midterm election, his party usually loses ground, and this time the GOP just needs to flip 5 seats in the House and 1 in the Senate to claim control, which is already off the gates. This is already not looking good. Off the gates is already not looking good. Then we have the redistricting, which will, I would suspect, favors the GOP just enough. Plus the fact that the Democratic Party in control right now has been underwhelming, to say the least. To be very charitable, has been underwhelming. It's going to depress turnout, which is the precise opposite of what you need to be doing. It's just a recipe for disaster, is what I'm looking at. Is what I'm looking at. If Joe doesn't stand for a second term and they put Kamala, it plays right into the tired establishment plotline that people are expecting. Hey Darknet, how's it going? Makes the whole thing look even more like a total joke. True. 1 in 4 is huge, yeah. Makes the whole, yes. Will presidents have thankless jobs and get blamed for everything? No. Well, actually, I retract that statement. Yes, all presidents aren't there for, for the appreciation. All presidents are there to do a job. And yes, they do have a lot of responsibility to shoulder. That is true. If the Dems want to be taken seriously, they have to go against type. If every government action helped, 1 in 4 people would be amazing. Do you think the BBB would be more successful if they separated it into multiple bills? I don't know. Misinformation works. I don't know. The problem with that is that we don't have Republican support. Okay? There's no alternative here where the GOP comes out and says, yeah, we'll support X, Y, or Z. They just won't. We're left in the position where it has to be done through reconciliation because we're not getting any Republican support. That's for sure. That's out the window. That is not a thing that's happening. Okay? That is not a thing that's happening. It is very seldom that you will get Republican support for anything. And I don't suspect that increasing child tax credits on its own would be supported by the Republican Party. I don't think that the necessary legislation needed to address climate change will have any Republican support. It's being called socialist. It's being called the Green New Socialist Deal. There's just no way. There's just no way. There's no way you're gonna get. There's no way you're gonna get Republican support for paid leave. Multiple Republican elected officials have said that they're just not interested. They think it's a socialist plot. That's literally their go-to. That is always their go-to. Yeah, you would think that, misinformation works. You would think that the party of family values would be like, hey, you know what? Let's separate the paid family leave. Let's separate the maternity leave, and let's vote on that separately. Let's vote on that separately. Because we, as the GOP, care about family, right? Again, I'm just playing off their alleged principles. Let's say, hey, you know what? Whoa, let's not include that here. Let's have a separate vote and let's see where we go from there. No, they won't do that. In fact, numerous senators and representatives have come out and said it was some type of socialist plot, including Marco Rubio. I forgot my VPN set for Malaysia. Wait. Malaysian question for a moment why I got a Malaysian Twitch ad. I like socialism though. Propaganda is hard to overcome. It's been a few years arresting people for political beliefs and everything. Everyone is afraid to support socialism. But here's me revealing, dropping the curtain, right? Opening the curtain. Paid family leave isn't socialism, folks. I know. Paid family leave is actually not socialism. That is not what that word means. Extending child tax credits that help working families is not socialism. Revamping our energy systems is not socialism. Giving 2 years of community college, giving VPK or pre-K is not socialism. Paid family leave, you want to get paid and don't have a family, you leech? No. By definition, to get paid leave, you need to have a family, right? That's the whole point of maternity leave, paternity leave, yeah. But what? Everything the government is supporting is supporting its people is socialism. The government is only supposed to be a war machine for capitalism. True. For capitalism to work. Corporate subsidies for oil and pharma is socialism. Well, if you give corporates, I guess you could argue the reasoning behind why they would call subsidies to that is because it's literally redistributing the wealth you're literally redistributing the wealth directly into the pockets of oil and pharma, I guess. I don't know. I don't know how I would square that circle. But either way, the government doing things, okay, it's literally the meme, okay? When the government does something, it's socialism. And when it does a lot of that, and when it does a lot of things, then it's communism, right? No, that's not what these words mean. One day people will realize what's good for their neighbors, good for them. Yeah, we live in a society, period. That is the individualist take, by the way. That is the individualist take. If the election were held today, those surveyed would vote for the Republican congressional candidate who's won over their Democratic one by 46 to 38%, an advantage that bode well for the GOP hopes of gaining a majority. Yeah, this doesn't look good, folks. That outcome would make it harder for Biden to pass legislation, already a difficult task in the Democratic-controlled Congress, and open the door to aggressive Republican oversight of his administration. Oh yeah, I can't wait. I can't wait when the Republicans win the majority and all of this like nonsense. We're gonna be bogged up. We're gonna be bogged up in like nonsensical committee hearings, nonsensical investigations, and all this other stuff. We're gonna be bogged up for the rest of the 2 years when they win. Then, man, I can't wait. This is gonna be great. And then somehow, they're gonna win 2024 by saying that the Democratic Party did nothing. Unfortunately, your neighbor in America is currently your mortal enemy. Well, I wouldn't say that 100%. Maybe you live in a society I don't. I don't recognize that word. It sounds made up. True. Anyways, this is a huge. Alarm bells should be ringing for the Democratic Party to get their collective ish together and do something. This right here should be massive alarm bells to do something. Will they? I'm not holding my breath. You're going to say that the Democrats are trying to take away your child tax credit and give it to undocumented immigrants? Well, they already tried that with the nice meme of they were trying to paint the narrative that Joe Biden, or I should say the Biden administration, was trying to give undocumented immigrants $450,000. They were trying to say like, oh yeah, the Biden administration is literally handing out $450,000. Not the case. The MAGA machine is running strong. It is. Just biding our time. Oh man. Oh man.
Please clap.
I won't disagree with you, Alio. The MAGA machine is running strong. And that's not necessarily a good thing. Folks, it's gonna be a rough 2 years. It's gonna be a rough 2 years, and then following 4 years, and then who knows. And then who knows. Let's talk about the infrastructure bill really quickly. Roads, transit, and internet. What's in the infrastructure bill? The $1 trillion infrastructure plan that now goes to President Joe Biden to sign into law has money for roads, bridges, ports, rail transit, safe water, the power grid, broadband internet, and more. The House passed the bipartisan plan on Friday, and Biden said Saturday will hold a signing ceremony when lawmakers return from a week of recess. Wait, why are they in a week of recess? This is ridiculous to me. Okay. Mind you, these are the same folks that are complaining about paid sick leave. About how expensive it is to have paid sick leave. Oh, I see. Okay. Maybe I need to eat that word. Maybe I need to eat my words there. Recess in Congress and Senate doesn't necessarily mean they're not working, just means they aren't on the floor. Okay. All right, I'll be a little bit more charitable. Greetings from Scranton, Pennsylvania. How's it going? They work less than the average American and get paid significantly more. True. So as I suspect what's happening is that they're going to tout this as a W. They're going to tout this as a big W. And that's it, folks. That's it. That's the end of it. Cool. They're going to tout this as a big W. And that's it. The new law promises to reach almost every corner of the country. It's a historic investment that the president has compared to the building of the Transcontinental Railroad and Interstate Highway System. The White House is projecting that the investment will add on average about 2 million jobs per year in the coming decade. The bill cleared the House on a 228 to 206 vote, ending the weeks of inter-party negotiation in which liberal Democrats insisted that the legislation be tied to the larger $1.7 trillion social spending bill, an effort to press more moderate Democrats to conservative Democrats to support both. The Senate passed the legislation on a 69 to 30 vote in the August after rare bipartisan negotiations, and the House that kept the compromise intact. 13 House Republicans voted for the bill, giving Democrats more than enough votes to overcome the handful of defections from progressives. Here is the breakdown of the bill. The bill would provide $110 billion to repair the nation's aging highways, bridges, and roads, which is, again, like the bare minimum. Like, this shouldn't even be, like, touted as a massive W. This is just, like, par for the course, right? According to the White House, 173,000 total miles, or nearly 280,000 kilometers of America's highways, major roads, and 45,000 bridges are in poor condition. And the almost $40 billion for bridges is the single largest dedicated bridgeman investment since the construction of the national highway system. The $39 billion for public transit in legislation would expand transportation systems, improve accessibility with people with disabilities, and provide dollars to state and local governments to buy zero-emission and low-emission buses. That's a positive. The Transportation Department estimates that the current repair backlog is more than 24,000 buses, 5,000 rail cars, 200 stations, and thousands of miles of track and power systems. To reduce Amtrak's maintenance backlog, which has worsened since Superstorm Sandy 9 years ago, the bill would provide $66 billion to improve the rail service's Northeast Corridor, 457 miles, as well as other routes. It is less than the $80 billion Biden, who famously rode Amtrak to from Delaware to Washington during his time in the Senate, originally asked for, but it would be the largest federal investment in passenger rail service since Amtrak was founded 50 years ago. Yep, which is nice. A nice meme. I do wish they were on the floor and forced to stay there like my sister when I had a fight and had to stay in the stairs, so we worked it out. I wish so. 110 billion is nothing. That might repair the roads in Mississippi only. I can honestly say I've never seen a single episode of The Office. Nice. To be honest, I've watched only a few. Yeah, so, exactly, Silver Night Dragon. The 110 billion is, again, all of this is, from what I understand, is, years in the making. Years in the making. Electric vehicles, the bill would spend $7.5 billion for electric vehicle charging stations, which the administration say are critical to accelerating the use of electric vehicles to curb climate change. Okay, here's the problem. Who can buy electric vehicles? And what exactly is the impetus of everybody just being able to, Thanos snap and have an electric vehicle? I would get if there's a massive incentive to do so. And if you need a new car, then maybe consider it. But this is not going to curb climate change. I'm sorry. It would also provide $5 billion for the purchase of electric school buses and hybrids, reducing reliance on school buses that run on diesel fuel. Fair enough. But again, that's like point something percent. Alio with the 10 biddies, thank you so much. I appreciate that. You think the president can redirect military force into the Corps of Engineers? I don't know. I don't know what the powers are when it comes to the executive about that. The legislative $65 billion for broadband access would aim to improve internet services for rural areas, low-income families, and tribal communities. Most of the money would be made available through grants to states. But what if the states don't want to? Okay. And furthermore, again, this should be the base. This shouldn't be touted as a massive W. This should be touted as like, oh yeah, this is kind of just what government does. We're supposed to sit here and clap for the government doing its job. Pretending to do its job. True. Modernizing the electric grid to protect the power outages that have become more frequent in recent years. Really? And what could possibly be the reason that would be a problem? I just can't put my finger on it. The bill would spend $65 billion to improve reliability and resilience of the power grid. It would also boost carbon capture technologies and more environmentally friendly electricities like clean hydrogen. The bill would spend $25 billion to improve runways, gates, and taxiways at airports to improve terminals. It would also improve aging air traffic control towers. The legislation would spend $55 billion on water and wastewater infrastructure. It has $15 billion to replace lead pipelines, lead pipes, which is beyond me that this is 2021 and we're still dealing with this. And $10 billion to address water contamination from polyfluoroalkyl. I'm not even gonna pretend I know this. I know what that is. Substances, chemicals. Oh, PFAS, right? Is that what it is? PFAS that were used in production of Teflon and have also been used in firefighting foam, water repellent, and many other items. Yeah, I think that this is PFAS, what they're referring to. Hey, howdy, Kal-El. I'd rather have a civilian labor force do the infrastructure work and earn a thriving wage while doing it. Yep. True. Got him. The sad part of the bulk of this bill will disappear into graft. Yep. This is stuff they should have already been doing for decades. True. The 5-year spending package would be paid for by tapping $210 billion in unspent COVID relief aid and $53 billion in unemployment. God. In unemployment insurance aid. Some states have halted. Oh yeah, nice meme. Oh, this is great. Along with an area of smaller pots of money like petroleum reserve sales and spectrum auctions for 5G services. What? Okay. Anyways, this is the massive W that they're trying to tell us that we should be happy. We should be happy about. That this is the game changer, folks. This is the massive game changer. Look at the Democratic Party working with the Republican Party. Look at all the stuff that we're gonna get, guys. Oh, I see. The auction radio bans for wireless communications. It's a loss. I consider it, I don't consider it a win. A massive W. Yeah, working with them to get 0 votes. Well, this time they got votes from them simply because, well, there's nothing really transformative about this. They get to tout this as a win, too. Oh yeah, look, we invested some money here for like stuff that is important and probably should have been done decades ago, and then tout that as a win. Lord have mercy. Yeah, that's right. This should have been the starting point, not the compromise. No, this is a completely separate thing. But yes, you're right. This is kind of like the normal standard operating procedure for government. This shouldn't be like this shouldn't be the massive big win that they're gonna try to parade around on Saturday or whatever. This should just be, oh yeah, like, yeah, we kind of did that because that's kind of our job. Right, this should have been a Tuesday, easy peasy, just like, oh yeah, we're just supposed to make sure that infrastructure, you know, water doesn't have lead in it. I mean, it's kind of bad. The expansion of broadband for information, internet, turns out that's pretty good. Yeah. Well, they need to say they did something, or the Republicans would just have that much more to say when it's time for elections. I don't know if that would have switched, to be honest. I don't know if that moves the needle at this point, Pat Rat. What will move the needle is a aggressive, actual transformational piece of legislation that will have a very palpable impact on the American people. Like it will be so in their face that they will not be able to be like, oh yeah, no, this is not the do nothing Dems. This is not the do nothing Dems. I'm a hard working, working class working class father, and these child tax credits, man, they're buying food, they're buying diapers for my child, so on and so forth. Republicans who voted against the bill still claim that it happened under their watches. Instead, they passed defense budgets like it should be passing these maintenance bills. Right. American government is famous for using fancy words to change nothing. True. I mean, like, things like that. Like, can you imagine? Like, can you imagine having a VPK, 2 years of community college, and be like, wow, that's actually something that's palpable. I can point to that and be like, look, this is something that we actually, like, don't have, and now we do. This is just maintenance, and they haven't done something like this since FDR. How fucking sad is that? Very sad. And like I said, they're just trying to tout this as like some massive win. People didn't like it when they pushed to get more money by holding back on the debt ceiling, by not doing the reconciliation process. Holding back on things isn't making Republicans move, right? Seeing the objectively useful changes in their pockets with their eyes is what's going to move people. Many authorities and state governments want federal funding. 90%, so the bill has to pass. Oh yeah, no, this has to pass. This isn't me saying like, oh, this is completely useless. I'm not saying it's useless. I'm saying that the idea that this is some kind of like massive W, that like, oh, look at us. Like, no, dude, this is basic. This is like a Tuesday, okay? This is a Tuesday legislative session where they just get together and be like, oh yeah, this kind of needs to be done, and then that's it. And just moves on. No, like, it doesn't require all of this thing to be like massively touted as some type of W. What people need is palpable results. A transformative, aggressive legislation that looks that people can look to and be like, yeah, you know what? They did that. The Dems did that. They helped me. They helped the American people with X, Y, and Z. An example of that would be the child tax credits. Oh look, the Democratic Party is highly focused on solving the climate crisis, which does affect my children, which does affect the next generation. I mean, like, all of these things are palpable that people can look to and point to. And they don't do it. No idea what that means. This is like paying interest on a loan, not paying down the principal. Never gonna get anywhere, but you aren't punished for it. Right. Yeah, Pat, right. Exactly. Dude's rooting for Russian oligarchy up in here. Yeah, I translated it. That's why I was like, I have no idea what that means. So in case folks were wondering what this strange message in chat was saying. Russia will capture everyone soon. Why discuss? Something about Russia and... Okay, whatever. Anyways. TLDR is you can't just tout this as a W. We need more, okay? If you want to win, and if you're interested in doing something, you gotta do more. You gotta do more. I'm sorry. This here is a Tuesday, okay?
In the 16th century, the coastal waters of what is now called Nova Scotia and Newfoundland were teeming with life. Even after centuries of fishing by the Mi'kmaq and Malisite peoples indigenous to the region, European fishermen wrote extensively of the abundance of life in the northern Atlantic. One account from veteran sailor Charles Lee describes the greatest multitude of lobsters that we have ever heard of, catching over 140 lobsters in just one haul. While another account from Father Pierre Biard claims that spawning fish were often so abundant that you cannot put your hand in the water without encountering them. But by 1992, that oceanic abundance had completely collapsed. North American cod populations dropped to 1% of their historical population level. Over the course of 4 centuries, the Northwest Atlantic seas went from absolute abundance to decimation. What happened? And what threats do our vast oceans face from a world based on capitalist exploitation? This video is sponsored by CuriosityStream, which now comes with Nebula for free when you sign up using the link in the description.
Let's take a look at how it all works. Original Medicare alone.
I'm gonna attempt to collect 30 million pounds of trash from this river all by myself.
And we're gonna pick up every single piece of trash on this beach.
Right now, YouTube is awash in a push to clean up trash in our waterways and oceans. It's exciting to see people get motivated about environmental issues, but ocean trash is just one piece of the puzzle when it comes to unlocking exactly what endangers our seas. In fact, there are a number of other, less visible, but nevertheless catastrophic threats that our seas face, like heightened acidity, temperature rise, and dead zones. Today, however, I want to focus in on just one: overfishing. A problem that not only affects our global marine ecosystem, but the 59.5 million fisher folk spread across the world. Let's go back to Newfoundland in 1992. There, fishing boats went out to sea expecting their usual catch, only to come back empty-handed. The Atlantic cod population had completely collapsed, and with it, the livelihoods of thousands of people intertwined with the North Atlantic fishing industry. And in 2000, the World Wildlife Fund even placed Atlantic cod on their endangered species list. To this day, cod populations in the Northwest Atlantic have yet to recover. But this species collapse due to relentless fishing practices is not exclusive to cod and the Northwest Atlantic. Overfishing is happening all over the world. According to the UN Food and Agriculture Organization, from 1990 to 2017, the percentage of global fish stocks within biologically sustainable levels dropped from 90% to 65.8%. In part, this is due to the continued increase of fishing across the world. As of 2018, we caught and consumed the most sea life ever in a year. And while we dine on tuna, lobster, and salmon, fish populations are paying the price. The number of fish in the sea is not infinite, and with increased stressors like higher ocean temperatures and acidity, which weaken fish eggs and stunt species resilience, industrial overfishing practices are the last drop in the bucket that have pushed various fish species careening towards crisis. One study estimated that our oceans have lost more than 90% of large predatory fishes, while another analysis reveals that 82% of global fisheries are in a dangerous decline. But fishing can take a wide variety of forms, from subsistence catching to industrial scale trawling.
Oh yeah,
so
I knew
is
that.
there one fishing practice that is more harmful than others? Fishing can mean a lot of things to a lot of people. For a subsistence fisher in Bangladesh, fishing might look like a fishing rod and line catching one fish at a time. While for an industrial fisher along the coast of China, fishing might mean dragging large nets across the ocean floor to capture schools of fish all at once, a practice known as trawling. In total, industrial trawling represents a third of all fishing practices, and when combined with net purse fishing, large-scale industrial fishing accounts for over half of all fish caught in a year. This is a problem, because big net fishing, especially trawling, is one of the most destructive ways to fish. In the process of dragging large nets across the seabed, fisherfolk destroy fragile ecosystems on the ocean floor, as well as indiscriminately catch what's known as bycatch, or in other words, marine life that is not commercially viable and often dies or gets thrown back into the water after the net is hauled into the boat. Think Dory in Finding Nemo. trawling and big net purse fishing have facilitated a rise in overfishing due to the sheer volume fishing boats are able to capture per hour. In part, this industrialization of fishing gear, combined with advancements in on-boat refrigeration, processing, and storage, has led to increased fishery declines since the 1950s. But industrialization and new technologies aren't the only reason why we see a nearly global decline in fish stocks. These technologies are rooted in a market-based approach to fishing that has meant a constant need for growth and profit for fisherfolk. Or in other words, they need to continuously outfish and outsell their competitors in order to survive.
I see the rationale for people consuming wildlife from the sea as a response to marketing. Those who want to create an appetite for fish, an appetite for lobsters and shrimp, because it's their profit that they're looking for.
That's Dr. Sylvia Earle, an expert in marine life with over 30 years of experience in the ocean. For her, the massive rise in fish consumption over the last half-century has been driven by marketing, which at its root is a product of capitalist, profit-driven pursuits. If we turn back to the Northwest Atlantic coast, we can see that before European fisherfolk crossed the ocean in pursuit of richer fisheries, the waters there were teeming with fish, despite the fact that the Mi'kmaq and Maliseet fished those waters for sustenance. Only once fisherfolk involved in a burgeoning capitalist market economy began to extensively fish for cod did the ecosystems begin to dwindle. Much like other capitalist extraction industries, fishing under capitalism has commodified certain fish like cod or bluefin tuna and is fishing them to near extinction. In a competitive fishing market, the fisherfolk who are able to catch the most amount of fish in the shortest amount of time will come out on top. A model that incentivizes large net trawling and mechanization processes that, when left unchecked, have decimated fisheries. To add insult to injury, as Brett Clark and Rebecca Clausen argue in their paper on oceanic decline and capitalism, competitive markets create incentives to expand production regardless of resource decline. Thus, in reaction to decreased stocks due to overfishing, ground fishing fleets move farther offshore. Essentially, in a capitalist market devoid of regulation, profit incentives push the fishing industry not to maintain the marine ecosystem, but instead to fish it to death and then move on to richer waters. So then how do we challenge this paradigm?
I've been raising cattle in Florida for 45 years. Sustainably managed grazing lands provide not only great beef, but they also provide wildlife habitat, corridors, water filtration, and carbon sequestration. Climate impacts are
When it comes to the declining health of our global waterways,
That's a bit ironic. Because it's a bit taboo. If the fish stocks have declined so much, it could arguably be so low that you can't even justify indigenous people fishing anymore. Well, the thing is, like, if there's no fish, then, I mean, then it's really nobody, right? Watch Seaspiracy. I couldn't. I think I managed like 15 minutes of it. I'll have to bring myself to watching it. A commercial sees you. Uh-oh.
There's a lot more at work than just plastic trash. In fact, extractive fishing is just one of the many threats causing marine ecosystems to crumble, which is why saving our seas has to encompass a lot more than ocean cleanups. Because cleanups are just a band-aid solution. Even if we take every piece of trash out of our waterways right now, the equivalent of a garbage truck full of plastic still continues to flow into our oceans every single minute. Only larger, more structural approaches like regulating fishing industries, implementing sustainable and regenerative fishing practices guided by indigenous leaders, or maybe for some, not eating fish altogether. In fact, a portion of ocean trash is debris from industrial fishing, like old nets and lines. But saving the oceans is also intertwined with blocking new oil pipelines, as well as disrupting fossil fuel operations that create emissions, plastics, and deadly oil spills. Which means that standing in solidarity with water protectors who stood in the way of the Keystone XL, Dakota Access, Line 3, and Line 5 pipelines, and many more, is also crucial to protecting our waterways. Ultimately, there are countless movements and organizers already working to overthrow the fossil fuel industry and extraction paradigms. Paradigms that lead to ocean trash and decimated fish populations. So to truly save the seas, we need to mobilize ourselves, find a place to plug in, whether that be a mutual aid organization, a local socialist chapter, or eco-sabotage group, and fight for a future where life on land and in the water isn't in danger of tipping over the edge. During this video, you might have noticed that I left out a growing industry that's slowly piling more fish onto our plates: aquaculture. It's a huge topic, and I felt that it deserved more than just a one-sentence mention in this video. So instead, I wrote a small section covering the key issues of fish farming. But I cut it out of this video because I felt like it was a tangent and I wanted to appease the YouTube algorithm. So I've uploaded that section as an extended edition of this video on the streaming platform my creator friends and I built.
One thing
called
they won't mention
Nebula.
is the unimaginable suffering of the sea life.
This ad because
if you want to get like, if you want to really watch Seaspiracy and it's like, oh man, I can't do it. So I'm starting to think my grandparents were onto something, burning their garbage. Yeah, I mean, but there are like other, sure, but there are other alternatives you can do too, Dacapolion. Your garbage is actually pretty useful. My parents make grade A, completely organic compost out of their garbage for the most part. But yeah, there are the idea that you can do more with your garbage instead of just keeping to throw it out in the trash continuously. That's a good idea. That's a good concept. But there are good things you can do too. There are better things that you can repurpose your garbage for. But yes, Dacapolion, the idea that we should repurpose garbage and try to reduce our waste is a good thing. If you watch Seaspiracy, I think like within like the first 15 minutes, God man, the way they corral dolphins was enough for me to stop. Was enough for me to stop watching it. The way the Japanese fishing industry corralled those dolphins, and slaughtered them. Yeah, that was enough for me to stop watching right there. %45% of the plastic in the Pacific garbage patch is fishing nets. Yeah. Yep. Yep. Anyways, this is just the ad.
There aren't any ads on Nebula. And you'll not only see a lot of extended edition because it's now Nebula from me, but also
turtles and dolphins get stuck in those and starve to death slowly. Jesus Christ. Climate activist Greta Thunberg said Friday that the COP26 climate summit is a failure. True. It's not a secret that COP... I'm gonna just start calling it COPE. Yeah, I don't like fish anyways. They composted food and waste and burned all the paper goods that they didn't reuse for something else. Ah, interesting. Yeah, that's a great idea, Dacapolion. Excellent idea. Compost is good. It's not a secret that COP26 was a failure. It should be obvious that we cannot solve the crisis. That we cannot solve the crisis with the same method that got us into this first place. True. The COPE has turned into a PR event where leaders are giving beautiful speeches about announcing fancy commitments and targets, while behind the curtains, governments in the global north countries are still refusing to take any drastic climate action. That is true. She was speaking on the stage shortly after a strike organized by Fridays for Future saw thousands of march 1.6 miles Kelvin Grove Park to George Park in Glasgow City Centre, less than 2 miles where the COP26 event is held. The UK is presiding over COP26 through November 12th, a major climate event regarded as one of the most important diplomatic meetings in history. It has yielded some positive developments, including pledges to end and reverse deforestation, a deal to cut methane emissions methane emission levels by 30% by 2030, and new commitments to phase out coal power. Except, as Greta Thunberg said, all of these are just pledges, words. That's it. That's it. They're just words. Yeah, just subsist on air and sunlight and evolve chloroplast. Yeah, that's how I do it. But the idea is, of course, you should try to do what you can. My grandma didn't use the compost on her garden. I just wish I had been old enough to learn the ways. Yeah. Experts harbor deep concerns. That's an understatement. Yeah, no kidding. No kidding. No kidding. But if they meet all their goals, they will only exceed the safety warning by 0.4 degrees. Yeah, but that still doesn't mean that they should move towards that. But again, the whole point as to why she's criticizing it is because of the idea that it's all just one giant PR stunt, which to me seems to be accurate. However, experts harbor deep concerns about whether countries and companies can keep the 1.5 degrees Celsius goal alive. Spoiler alert, they won't. Not because they can't, but I just feel like we don't have whatever is necessary. Whatever the things that are necessary to move in that direction isn't happening. So the chances are that this will happen is very minimal. So that's what I mean. It's not that it can't happen, but the reality is the things that need to be happening aren't. But if they meet their goals, yeah, if. What is their incentive? Is it profitable to this quarter to change anything? Probably not, so therefore... this critically important temperature threshold refers to the aspirational target of the landmark 2015. Well, landmark in the sense of what? Thunberg said, COP26 has been described as the most exclusionary COP ever, saying that those at the sharp end of the climate crisis remain unheard. She added that the event could be considered a 2-week-long celebration of business as usual and blah blah blah, which is her famous speech. The COP26 spokesperson said in a statement given to CNBC, the UK is committed to hosting an inclusive COP. Except, isn't the UK opening up like coal factories, coal things as well? Ensuring that the voices of those most affected by climate change are heard is a priority for the COP26 presidency, and if we're to deliver for our planet, we need all countries and civil society to bring their ideas and ambitions to Glasgow. Yeah, okay, great, but like, none of it means anything. None of it means anything if they don't actually follow up with massive policy prescriptions that they are going to turn around and say, look, okay, we've got it. Here's what we're going to do, X, Y, and Z. And I want to see this legislative session complete X, Y, and Z. I mean, but that's not what's happening. Such a rise would put the goals of the Paris Climate Agreement all but out of reach, as scientists have warned that emissions must halve this decade or the world, if the world is to limit global temperatures to 1.5. Yeah. The so-called sustainable recovery is barely budged from 2020 policies, and the sustainable element is extremely generous given how far from path to net zero it seems to appear. Of the 36 countries plus the EU, only Gambia has made commitments in line with the 1.5 degrees Celsius goal. Combined, these countries make up 80%. They could commit and then not do enough. They won't even promise to try. Right. Net zero promises from governments were often vague and ambiguous. If these could be made robust and implemented fully, the world could shave 0.5 degrees off the projected warming of 2.7 degrees Celsius. 0.5 if they made it robust and implemented fully. 0.5 degrees Celsius. If Shell and BP paid no corporate tax or production levies on Northern Sea oil operations between 2018 and 2020, and they claimed tax reliefs of nearly 400 million euros over the same 3-year period. They paid shareholders more than 44 billion in dividends. Standard procedure. Yeah. The North Sea one. Yeah, here it is. Quote, we need the money, right? I saw a meme that says, man promises to quit drinking by 2050. Yeah, I mean, sure, it's basically it. Yeah, okay. Yep, that's basically it. And of course, I agree with this. Climate scientists have repeatedly stressed the best weapon tackling is to cut greenhouse gas emissions and fast. Thunberg was catapulted to fame by skipping school every Friday to hold a weekly vigil outside the Swedish parliament in 2018. It sparked an international wave of school strikes with millions of children taking part in rallies across the world. Okay, so yeah, anyways, the TLDR is, she's correct. This is all just empty promises, and the reason why, as Mono just pointed out, which is the final, quickly, which is finally the last thing. Fossil fuel companies have over 500 people at COP26, more than any single country. Explain to me why this isn't a massive joke. Too bad we didn't let oil companies collapse when they went negative in per barrel. True. More than 100 fossil fuel companies are understood to have sent 500 lobbyists in COP26 climate talks in Glasgow, Scotland, more than any single country at the summit, according to the environmental campaign group Global Witness. The group analyzed UN's provisional list of named corporate attendees and found at least 503 people linked with oil and gas companies were at the conference. Fossil fuel use is the biggest driver of human-made climate change. The list included people either directly affiliated with fossil fuel companies, including Shell, Gazprom, and BP, as well as those attending as members of delegations and groups that act on behalf of the fossil fuel industry. The analysis found that the fossil fuel lobby had around 24 more than the largest country delegation. Yeah, cool. Yeah, so, nice meme. That's the TLDR of that. As COP26 ends, or is ending, or has ended, I don't know, I just can't pay attention to it. That's it right there. Any indication of why Greta Thunberg is saying that this is pretty much a PR stunt, this is a joke. Here's why. Because we need people causing the problem to be there to make changes. True. COP26 has the World Cup in it, so we should have known. True. Why are there even allowed to be a COP? And enough is enough. We need to end this before it destroys us. True. Like, it's one thing. All cops are bastards. There are researchers who couldn't get access. Yeah, there are researchers who couldn't get access that need to have access. But the fossil fuel industry had over 500 people, just shy over 500 people. Right, but that's not why they were there for. Right. Exactly. They're there to schmooze and, of course, muddy the waters and all that. It's a PR stunt, as Greta Thunberg greenwashed. Yes, thank you. Yeah, to talk shit. That's right. That's right. So that's the TLDR that I wanted to kind of end on by, bringing all of that 2 or 3 articles to kind of bring that to a close there. They also outnumber the event's official indigenous constituency by around 2 to 1, as well as a number of delegates from 8 worst affected countries. This is unbelievable to me, how this is. In case you guys want to read the full article and want to mold as hard as I have. Take a look there. Feeling kind of depressed after that. Same. I have been just kind of taking it easy. The chap. Dang it. Raiding with a party of 10's a chap. We're gonna have to ride the raid wave, my friend. I appreciate that though. Please go follow twitch.tv/thechap. I owe you a cute animal video though. But I do appreciate you guys hanging out. As we sign off, thank you guys. You guys came in just in time for the to ride the raid wave. So hang tight. It's a compost raid. Yeah, just hang tight with us here, and we'll get you to a just in time to say goodbye. Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you. You have a good one. Just in time. Stay with us. Stay with us, the chat folks. On your way, don't forget to follow, of course. But we are here Monday through Thursday, 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time, doing the news and politics as always. Don't forget to hit us up on the YouTubes, like, comment, share, subscribe. Join us on the Discord, and stay here, chat. We're gonna ride the raid wave, okay? Thank you so much, the chat. Sorry that it's you caught me at the end there. I apologize, but unfortunately I gotta head to work. I appreciate you guys. Please stay with us as we head on over. So ride the raid wave. Hey look, Anna the Nugget. Anna the Nugget usually has very chill vibes. Yeah, tune in tomorrow. So Anna the Nugget usually has very chill vibes. So let's go there because I think we need it. So hang tight with us. Hang tight with us. We're heading out in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Thank you guys so much as always. Please stay safe. Please take care of each other. As always, I love you all and hope to see you guys in the next one. See ya. Alright, chat. Be nice and stay safe.